Hi, my name is Andreas Andrianopoulos, and today I will be discussing stakeholder management theory. I will be exploring this topic by comparing and contrasting two individuals in management. However, these two individuals are at the opposite spectrum of profit generation as a primary motivating factor. Manager A is a director at a large-scale private company. This company operates in the fuel retail, construction, and property development sectors. However, Manager A made note that their primary industry is fuel retail. Manager B is currently employed at a public school in the northeastern area of Melbourne. Manager B currently operates as the Year 11 and 12 coordinator for their school, and their specific teaching field is English. During the interview process, when asked for clarification on what specifically I meant as a stakeholder, I offered this quote from Freeman, who stated that a stakeholder in an organization is any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the achievement of the organization's objectives. Following this, Manager A stated that their primary stakeholders are their suppliers, staff, customers, and government regulatory bodies. They noted that their suppliers could range from large multinational corporations to small family businesses, and highlighted the importance of building and maintaining an ethical supply network. Manager B stated that their primary stakeholders are students, parents or guardians, and their colleagues, which could refer to more junior teachers, fellow year level coordinators, and educational support staff. The answers provided give an interesting insight into how a stakeholder network can change depending on profit as a factor. In this case, the manager at the for-profit organization discussed suppliers and government bodies, whilst the manager at the not-for-profit organization had more personal stakeholders such as students and parents. We can again see the contrast between operating in a for-profit or not-for-profit environment by the stakeholder priorities as understood by our interviewed managers. In the case of Manager A, we can see that all stakeholders have a financial motivation as an aspect to their priorities. Conversely, due to operating in a non-profit driven environment, Manager B did not discuss financial incentives as a priority for one of their stakeholders. Instead, all stakeholders seem to be aligned to the same goal of the organization that they orbit, in this case, the student's education. When conducting my interviews, I noted that the time each manager spent discussing each stakeholder reflected the stakeholder salience model. Mitchell et al. Argued that all stakeholders could be placed on a model that reflected how powerful, legitimate, and urgent a stakeholder's needs were, and what priority their concerns should be given. Manager A noted that his most important stakeholder was his fuel supplier, and when mapped onto the stakeholder salience model, we can see this reflects the theory. As providing the lifeblood to Manager A's fuel retail company, this supplier is in a powerful and legitimate condition, and any needs that supplier may have are of the utmost importance, placing them in the definitive plan. Manager B discussed the students at the school to the highest extent, which makes sense as students possess high legitimacy and priority in a school setting. I have also placed parents and guardians as well as customers in the displayed model as they were the next most discussed. This suggests that legitimacy is a value that both for-profit and not-for-profit regard highly, as all the most referenced stakeholders in my interview possess high legitimacy. Both managers A and B noted that disputes with and between stakeholders were common. Manager A consistently enters into pricing disputes with suppliers as customer satisfaction could decrease if goods are seen as too expensive, and also noted a dispute between his company and a local council that entered arbitration recently. Manager B explained that stakeholder tensions almost all of the time involve students, and that the primary tensions that arose were determining the best path forward for the students. When discussing managing stakeholder tensions, both managers A and B's strategies once again converged. Both favor respectful dialogue, preferably face-to-face, as they believe it to be the most productive way forward. They also both recognize that stakeholder relations need to be preserved going forward, as the relationship between a manager and a stakeholder is an ongoing and evolving one. This sentiment reflects the arguments made by Palmer et al., who argued that maintaining positive relationships is a key aspect to effective stakeholder management. During the interview process, both managers placed a strong emphasis on being a benefit to society as a whole, even before being specifically asked about the topic. Their responses also reflected the pillars of Carroll's social responsibility or CSR theory. Carroll argues that businesses have responsibilities to society other than economic ones, including legal, ethical, and philanthropic responsibilities. Manager A demonstrated all 4 layers of the pyramid in their response. They noted that their biggest responsibility to society is to follow all safety regulations provided, as mismanagement of their product petroleum could have a severe impact on the local environment and communities, demonstrating their commitment to Carroll's ideas of philanthropic and legal responsibilities. They also made mention of their desire to offer fair compensation to their staff and a fair price to customers, demonstrating their support of Carroll's ideas of ethical and economic responsibilities. Manager B's responses also fit within the framework of CSR. They noted their most passionate obligation to the community was forming good members of society and educating their students on social issues, which shows that Manager B has a deep commitment to the CSR layer of philanthropic responsibilities. Manager B also explained that student well-being is of paramount importance and that they try to uphold all educational policy standards set, which could reflect Carroll's CSR of legal and ethical responsibilities. An interesting point of convergence between the two managers is that Manager B made no mention of community issues that could be construed as economic responsibilities, highlighting the difference in priorities between a non-profit versus a for-profit organization. The responses by the two managers offer interesting insights into how stakeholder management theory is aligned with real-world applications. Both managers unknowingly demonstrated aspects of the stakeholder salience model and Carroll's pyramid of corporate social responsibility. Their responses also highlighted the differences between management in a profit-focused versus non-profit-focused environment, with personal relationships being driven to the forefront in the latter. Finally, upon comparison of their responses, we can draw insights into what management practices are universal. In this case, the managers demonstrated that respectful and open dialogue is a key part of effectively managing stakeholders. Thank you.